right now we are going to have a chat with, with a lady that I'm sure you're all familiar with, who's probably has a lot of success in music. Back in the 70s, crossed over into the pop charts, even way before people like, Shania Twain and all those others. Crystal Gayle joining us today. Good morning, Crystal.
Well, good morning. It's great to talk to you.
This is a pleasure and an honor to have you on the program here this morning.
My pleasure.
We've got yourself along with Lee Greenwood making your way up towards, our neck of the woods in May, a concert that I'm sure fans are going to enjoy and I guess take a little trip down memory lane.
Well, we're going to be there May 27th, and I'm so excited because I love to perform with Lee and being at the River Creek Resort and Casino. I've heard a lot about it, so I'm excited. And, we have so much fun together on, being out on the road. We don't do a lot of concerts together, but we love every time we do.
This show is going to have both you and Lee on the bill. Both artists, both of you, have quite the collection of songs that are part of country music history. I mean, we go back to your signature song, I guess, Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue.
I was very, very lucky to have a song like that. And, I still see myself in the studio recording the song. That was the first take, and that's what you hear on radio, that when the machine went on, that's what you hear. I mean, I did not re-sing it. The players, I think we just added some strings, and that was it. That was a live performance in the studio.
Oh, wow. And that song went on to be a huge crossover hit for yourself, also on the pop charts. Did you think that it would have that success crossing over when you were recording that song?
No, I really didn't. I just loved the song. And I remember when we presented the album to the label and they were picking singles, I said, I want that my first single. I want that my first single. And finally they relented and let me have Don't It Make My Brown Eyes as the first single from that album. And, at that time in recording, a lot of other artists would look at the albums that came out and they would record songs from it. So I knew that if I didn't put it out, someone was going to hear it and record it and put it out as a single. And I knew I wanted that one for me. I was right.
The album, We Believe in Magic, was a huge album as well and produced other hits. And you know what? I got to say something. When that album came out, my cousin Priscilla and I would put it on. We would both be at one speaker and we would try to out-sing one another. Especially when the song River Road came on.
Oh, I love that. Of course, Sylvia Tyson wrote that. So.
Yeah. Canadian singer and
yes.
Hall of Famer. While I'm on the topic on Hall of Fame, I got to quickly ask about this. Back in 2001, you were inducted into the Native American Music Hall of Fame.
Yes. The Cherokee Medal of Honor is I've received. And, as you know, and I think everybody would know, and you might be going to mention it, my sister. And some people don't know that Loretta Lynn and our sister. But we're so proud of our American Indian heritage, and we're Cherokee. And maybe a few other things mixed in. But and, every time we get together, I always say it is that we find a little bit more in our ancestry, and we think we're going to be full-blooded soon.
The Cherokee comes from your mother's side of the family, is that correct?
Yes, but also Indian on my father's side, too.
Okay.
So, back in the hills, in Kentucky, there's a lot of, I always said that my mother, she wanted to leave the hills to move out of Kentucky because everybody was marrying cousins. So, she was trying to save us.
And you were born in Kentucky, but raised in Indiana. That's correct, eh?
Yes. We moved to Indiana when I was about 4.
And you spent your your years, your adolescent years there growing up, and
Yes.
that became your second home. And in fact, actually, they named a theater in your honor back in
Yes.
Indiana.
Back in Wabash, there's a beautiful museum, and within the museum is a small theater, and it's called the Crystal Gayle Theater. And I'm so honored and so happy. It's a great city. It's a wonderful city that I grew up in, and I definitely claim Kentucky and Indiana as my home places. But I did spend most of my going to school and everything, my childhood in Wabash, Indiana.
It's nice to have that connection of both communities. Now, you mentioned, I wasn't going to say anything about your sister, but here it goes. You come up from a very musical family, and we all know the success that Loretta had and has musically. When you started out, she gave you some advice of the direction that maybe you should be heading, because there was already a Loretta Lynn.
That's right. When I started out, I grew up singing all different styles of music because I was in school, I was in the choir, I was in swing groups, and then my brothers had bands, and we'd sing country on the weekend as well as around the house all week long. But when I started recording, she got my foot in the door, and Owen Bradley heard me, who was her producer on Decca Records, and he wanted to record me. And he wouldn't record me until I graduated, or was in my last year of high school. And Loretta gave me the best advice, and she told me to quit singing her songs because I would sing them all the time. I knew them backwards, I wanted to sing her songs, but she said, we have one Loretta Lynn, we don't need another. And she said, you record things that I wouldn't. So that's why I did the a little middle of the road, as we called it, which wasn't super real country, and it wasn't real pop, so it was, that middle of the road.
And it suited you.
Yes, it suited me, but, of course, Rocky Top's my favorite song, so I still sing certain things, but it suited me in the sense that I do not think I would have had the success recording the same style that my sister did, because we did sound a lot alike at that time. You hear someone and you try to emulate what they're doing, and I listened to some old demos that I would do when I first started, and I'm like, that's Loretta. I should put those out.
That is amazing. Well, you went on and you've had, 20 number one hits under your belt. And
yes.
You were...
a lot of top tens.
And with all of that, there came other recognition as well. You got a star also on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is pretty close to your sister's star.
Yes, I think there's one star in between, and it's incredible that I look back and I see all the things I've done and where I've traveled, and it's like I'm tired. I did all that. No, it is incredible. I'm very honored to have and still be in this business. I'm working, which is going to be released really soon, and it's a classic country album that is filled with all these wonderful songs that mean something to me, that I grew up with, like opening for Marty Robbins, opening for Jack Green, Karen Young. I got to travel and be with some very, very special talent that paved the road for country music. And
while you were out doing your thing, you were also doing the same for a lot of these artists today. You look at some of the up-and-coming artists out there. Are there any out there that you kind of admire?
Oh gosh, there's so many that are starting, and there are so many that I love. Casey Musgrave, and there's just so many that you listen to, but it's very, very hard at this moment. I look at some of the acts, because there are so many, that it's not easy to get in the business. and make it. I mean, you might have a super big #1 hit and never be heard of next year. So it's a different way of things that I didn't experience when I started out.
Now, is it harder for women to make it into the business?
I don't think it is.
No.
I mean, I hear about that all the time, but maybe they're talking about radio play. We've always had that through the years, where when I talked about having Brown Eyes out, I mean, most of the time they want up tempos. They don't want a ballad, and that was really why I had to talk really hard, because they wanted something up tempo from the album. Because if you listen now, I mean, a lot of things on the radio is just that up tempo. I'm not sure what's happening at this moment, other than the driving drum and bass and things. But I want to hear some really good songs come back on radio, and I mean like really good writers. I think where things have left behind is a lot of artists are trying to just write their own. It's okay if you're a great writer and put a few of on your album, but you need to listen to some of these writers that are just incredible. I was so lucky to have Richard Lee, who wrote Brown Eyes, on my first #1, which was I'll Get Over You. They're just out there. There's some great, great writers.
Crystal Gayle with us on the program here this morning. Crystal, we're going to get to hear a lot of these great songs when you perform them at the River Creek. Coming up on May 27th, along with Lee Greenwood. We are really looking forward to seeing you grace the stage and hearing some of the great songs that are now part of country music history that you've recorded.
Well, I'm looking forward to being there, and I love all the people, the friends that I've made through the years, and just being still out there, I get to say hi to them.
Crystal Gayle, I want to thank you for joining us on the program this morning. We greatly appreciate getting a chance to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Wally.